Dobar dan svima, good afternoon now, afternoon because it is afternoon, to everybody for the new lit session. We have started to talk about something which is called remote working. So I've decided that I should go out and try to remotely stream. I hope it will be possible from this place again. And it seems that some people are joining us. My name is Robert Zuber. I will be the host of this lit conversation. And with us, we have as our crew, Sanya is here. Hi, Sanya.
Hi, Robert.
Trying again to be remote and free in this internet connection. This is the only thing we have to change and hope that it will change to come to 5G and then we will be easily more technically approved. So this is Luca. He's the third guy here. And we have also Andreas. Hi, Andreas. So
nice seeing you.
Let's go talk immediately. We tried before, but some technical issues were here. It will be we will have some technical issues also in this session. Let's hope not too much. But remote work, Sanya, what it is for you?
Remote work for me is very much attached to my university position, which is currently a lot different than it was before, which again is very paradoxical. So a long time before the pandemic and COVID hit, I started working with an fully online, fully remote university that was founded in Israel, accredited by the United States. And when I was still living in the Middle East, in Kuwait, I started working for this university. And this university has been following a model that was already on for the last 20 years or so, ever since there was stable internet. And I was teaching a couple of classes for a master's degree program in advanced teaching. And this advanced degree was pursued by many aspiring educators all across the world that were earning an advanced degree and that already had a bachelor's degree. So in any case scenario, I was teaching a couple of courses that were creating positive classroom experiences, education in context, meaning history, sociology, and psychology, then learning theory implications to teaching and learning. And all this was working well. So when the pandemic hit, nothing changed for this university. And currently I'm working for a Croatian university that has the same infrastructure, the same technical infrastructure, that is the same content management system that's supporting teaching and learning. Yet we had a huge difficulty in bridging this gap of professors and students not being in the same room. The only difference here between these two universities is a difference in mindsets and in inherent beliefs how teaching and learning could look. So that's pretty much it, Robert. That's what remote work for me is today.
Okay, thank you. Now we can talk about, I'm back. We can talk with Luca. He is the one, we would say the youngest. He would have it's not offense, it's a compliment. That you can be the one who maybe most adapts to remote work most easier than everybody else. Is that true that generation and generation after you is more easy in adapting the remote work?
Thank you, Robert. I think yes, because technology is going further and further. We need to be faster to adapt to new technology, and even me, I consider myself very young, and I'm working with different technologies. I cannot keep up with everything that is going on already, and it will only go faster, in my opinion. So yes, younger people can do it more easily because they're more connected. They are raised through technology basically since they started. So, and that is one very important topic we're going to cover today, how remote work is changing the way we live globally. So I consider three main parts of our lives are affected, and I think all of everything in our lives can be sorted in three categories: in health, in wealth, and relationships. And all of those were affected. And I think remote work for me is creating a life that you want to create. So it gives you the possibility of being more flexible about which kind of life you want to live. And everything revolves around that for me. So that's the most important thing that I see that will change the world from 2020 on.
Okay, Andreas, your thought with the technology, you had a situation that you already, in a way, visionary talked about the changes which will. We were talking yesterday about videos, that video call will be something which is and coming, and nobody believed that we could talk like this through video, but now it's happening. So now remote work, what is giving as an offer to us?
I believe that the word remote work is misleading. And I believe what Lucas said, that young people can adapt better, is bullshit. That's a question of attitude, my view. So as an example, I was 15 when I did an apprenticeship in Germany in office towers with 2,000 people. And I need around 6 weeks to navigate to make sure I don't get lost when I had to go from one place within that complex to another. And they had kind of color-coded carpets to make sure you don't mix up where you have to be, because literally you could get lost by just trying to bring documents from one department to another department. So I spent 2.5 years in that, and I have been working mobile ever since. So that's my definition of operating. So the mobile feature was a core feature for me all my life, which is location independent. And this was with remote accessible answering machines in the beginning. This was with mobile phones afterwards. And this has been based on technology supporting it ever since. What I have been part of is making those tools digital and actually seeing the hugely empowering factors which that had on society in different parts of the world. So having information accessible remotely changed the way how people work in different, I think, continents of the planet and in different industries. But if you look at it from today's perspective, it's a major game changer. And there was a beautiful article in The Economist last year in April. And this made reference to the existing office model where somebody pulled out a letter which was written in 1823, where somebody stated and actually reflected on his experience of being told to come to an office. And he described that in his letter as a near-death experience. So he used the description of being told to be during all the golden hours of the day in a concrete box, like a near-death experience. And we have made that the normal in the last 200 years. But so in a nutshell summary, to answer your question, I believe it's a 200-year time window in which we were told to go to an office, spend time to commute, often wearing clothes which we don't like, and to be in an unhealthy environment and being told to sit down for long periods of time, being interrupted by many people, but which did not serve actually the quality of life of humans, nor the productivity of projects and companies.
Okay, so this is looks pretty much extremely that, we don't like the suits, and we don't. I mean, I'm not against the fact that I can do this, like this is a job, and I'm a host. I have to mix it, and I like that I have options that I can come outside and meet with you in a coffee shop, and we can discuss. But from the other hand, I think that remote work is opportunity, but there is also a possibility that we are going too much on remote, and that we will be in a situation that we will forget how it is to communicate live, how it is to create, because interaction, even physical, is not important. That's my point.
Yes,
Sanya,
Robert.
okay.
Yes, Robert,
Yeah, okay.
I agree. But the difference is that, as an example, when you and I meet, we have rarely met in an office. So yes, there is personal interaction, but this is location independent. And this is the power of remote.
And we are still live, Robert. Now we are live, even though we are behind screens, not in person.
And what most people experience now is remote during the pandemic, when they cannot move freely. They cannot be, let's say, completely free to be wherever they want. So this is not really how remote should look like. And yeah, if anyone watching now is working remotely or would like to work remotely, please, I would love you to send us a message under the live call, what you're doing, what you're working on remotely, or what you're working on if it's not remotely, and would you like to work remotely?
Okay, so Marian is saying to us, let's hear her. I think that remote work is good for introverts if it safeguards them, as there are a lot of conflict at work. And now this is mildewed or gone. If you have families inside at home, it can be distracting. That's one of the comments. We are welcoming all the comments on YouTube channel of AirPlus or Facebook, so we can comment on that. Sanja?
Yes, I can. It resonates what Marian has shared with me as well. From a perspective of an educator, I've noticed that a lot of students who are introverts and who are not as assertive as some of their colleagues are when they are in a classroom, they step out of their comfort zones easily via virtual environments. They are more active. They like to participate in a chat. They don't necessarily turn their cameras on, but they are more assertive. So I can feel what Marian is saying. But speaking of the distractions at home from a parent whose kids attending middle school classes were from a large part at home and working, and both my husband working, it definitely was a challenge until we figured it out and until we designed it so that it works. It's a matter of new habits again that we can learn if we decide to. I think that freedom that we had to work from wherever we wanted, from our yard, from the living room, from grandpa and grandma's house. I think that made us better employees, better workers, because those conditions were suitable to us. And then we went above and beyond for the work itself. Better than if we were in an office being distracted by those colleagues that just drop here and there and they ask you if you have a minute, and it's never a minute, it's 30 minutes at least, and then it takes your day and you come home at the end of the day, it's 5:00 p.m. What did you do? Nothing. So I personally feel a lot more productive working remotely.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you be able to choose if you want to stay home that day or meet anyone, maybe in your office if you have one, or at their place and work with them at their place? It shouldn't matter. You should be able to pick or choose. And that is what is now changing our work lives. And yeah, companies can now stand out by offering this kind of benefit. If this is a benefit, I consider it normal. I consider the opposite, that if you have to be in the office, that should be forbidden. You should always be able to choose. And of course, if you want to, you can always meet somebody or go in the office if it exists.
So we are talking about choosing, not about just going to remote, Andreas, because I see some, like we were talking about Ford, the factory which those who are not in the production, that they can stay at home. But if we are talking about choosing, then it's choosing, not mandatory. That's my point, my question.
I think one thing, there are two things. First of all, remote doesn't mean at home. Yeah, mobile doesn't mean at home. You should find the place which serves you best and which actually enables you to perform in a way which you consider as boosting your life and boosting the results. Number one. Number two, offices are ridiculously
expensive. We are talking about.
Offices,
sorry. We are talking about a home because of the COVID pandemic, because now mostly we are at home.
I know. But you can even, during COVID, you can sit in the park. Like, so this is possible for even during lockdown, earthquake in Zagreb, you were still able to sit on a lawn somewhere or go up to Dubrovkin Put as an example, where there's wonderful LTE coverage, so 4G, and it worked really, really well. And I had ample phone calls from up there, and you smell the trees, and you can do this in an environment which for me was conducive. Yeah, for me during that time, I enjoyed the fact of being in nature and having the positive radiation of trees around me and sitting on a bench. I was productive doing that from places like that. So, but let me go to one other aspect there. So offices are really expensive. Offices are empty often from 6 o'clock at night until 8 o'clock in the morning. And they're often empty on Saturdays and Sundays. So there will be very few companies who will be able to afford offices. If you look back in 10 years, you will say there are very few who will keep office in meeting rooms for certain get-togethers. But running an office, the costs associated with that will not be optional. This is number one. And number two, Robert, the fact of recruiting people in driving distance, in daily driving and commute distance, limits the opportunity of commuting people to only whoever is in that neighborhood. That's number one. And number two, whoever you pay, let's say €1 within that neighborhood, he's not able to spend that euro for a lifestyle which might be far more relevant for that person. So that euro pays you a different lifestyle if you go certain distances. So you will be able to reach people who can be part of your team anywhere. And those people, for whatever that they get paid as a fair share for their contribution, could theoretically spend that money in any environment which is conducive for them, for their children, for anything which they want to do with their life. And that's exceptionally powerful.
Okay, I can understand your point. Anybody else wants to share something? Sanja, Luka? I have my opinion, but I will say that as an advocate devils, devil advocate. Sanja.
Yeah, I think it's important to emphasize that we have to unlearn all the learned preconceived misconceptions. I want to put it in that strong vocabulary because they are preventing us of looking ahead and adapting to the redefined paradigms of work, of education, of living. So, for example, again, I'm going back when we were coming back from the Middle East, back home, back to Croatia. Before, sometime half a year before, my husband has built an online coaching business for him. So he's a high performance and endurance triathlon coach, and he coaches people get ready for marathons, triathlons, Ironman competitions, and so his athletes are training 10 to 15 hours a week, let's say. And then when we came home, so when people asked us, so what are you going to do now? What will you do? And then when we try to explain that he will be coaching athletes remotely, even some of his colleagues, like that were belonging to his profession, couldn't perceive that because they learned that you have to coach in person. So when he was, again, trying hard to explain how that coaching works, another reaction was, but what will you really do for a job? It took a while before we could explain to many people that that is a job, that that's a new type of job, that again, when they did take it, they couldn't understand. They saw him behind a camera coaching people and modeling and demonstrating exercises, warm-up, stretching, and stuff like that. And he doesn't do any of that, basically. There's no point in reinventing the wheel because there's already so many recordings done by so many people, so many coaches, athletes that are already modeling. What he's doing, he's programming daily and weekly workout sessions to every single bits and pieces, to the tiniest detail, so that people can then download them on their watch and hit the road running by being guided timely in every single step of their session. It was a mind-blowing experience when we shared it to so many people. So for me, that made a huge difference in living internationally and living locally. But the pandemic and COVID has accelerated the switch of mindsets, the change of unlearning the old and opening minds and hearts for the new. So I see a difference there.
Luca, you think that there is, because what I'm saying, maybe when I'm asking all the time the questions, what should we do? Should we adapt? Should we? Because sometimes it seems that these new technologies, like for example, we had time prior to the computer time, and then computer came as a possibility that you will between 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock until 4 or 5 be more effective and fastly do the work, and then you can go maybe earlier to your home, to your private life, lunch or whatever. But what happened is that the computer expanded your time in working. Then you had a mobile who actually made that we are reachable even at 10 o'clock, and it's corporative unpolite not to answer to the mail if it comes at 9 o'clock in the evening. So what I'm saying is that there are dangers also in this remote work way, that I'm afraid that it will intrude more and more to, I'm not against it, I'm saying that it can be more effective, but only if we also make some boundaries, and that this doesn't become that all our time will be just the work time. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand. When I was 14, I don't know if all 14-year-olds think like that, but I was looking forward to the time when I start earning money, and I couldn't get employed at that time or do something legally. But at that point, I read a book. I read a book. I read a book about earning money from your laptop, and that was, and somebody told me also how in the future we're only going to need a laptop, and you can call this a device. It can be mobile phone, iPad, whatever. At that time, I didn't understand what that means. That sounded like, okay, but how? What can you do on laptop that is beneficial for somebody that will pay you money for your work, for the value that you provide? And it took me a while to realize how to do it. And I consider those devices that we use, those devices are not blocking us. They are creating opportunities and increasing productivity. So I don't know if in the past, for example, 20 or 30 years ago, it was almost impossible for somebody as young as me to just go online, find a problem, and find it without meeting people in person, and or not even knowing about that industry and those problems, and learning about their problems, about how they think, how they communicate, which words they use, where can you find them online or offline, and finding a problem and creating a solution for them. That was impossible, just in the recent history. So and all the technology is just creating opportunities and increasing productivity. So it doesn't mean all those examples that you use, that somebody can call you or send you an email outside of work hours. Yes, for sure. But you can just close your computer, turn your airplane mode on, and it will give you possibilities of creating a day or a week or a month or a life that you will enjoy. So
yeah, but you can take it off. You can put it in the airplane mode. But it happens that, for example, if a company gives you the computer, a company gives you your phone, then it's in a way expected that you're reachable 24/7.
But I don't agree with that. So this is the same thing. If the company gives you a fork and a knife for lunch, that you start killing yourself. So it's a really question of how you use the tools. That's the core. So, and all this does, it is empowering people. So how they use that empowerment is their choice. Can you misuse it? Absolutely. Like you can do with every fork and knife which you might use for lunch. So what it does, it goes back to pre-200 years where people can work from anywhere, and they can do it in a way which is conducive for them. So they have a better day because they can go do things at a time which works best for them. They don't have to be in traffic. They don't have to commute, and they will get more money for the same work because the company does not have to pay the expense of an office. So, and this is where people right now can already choose. If you want to have the best people, they can choose, and they will all work remotely or mobile. So if you want to have the best people, that's an option. And if you want, as an example, if you take the example of Zagreb, if you want to have the best people, many people will not relocate to Zagreb. You have people who are maybe 100 kilometers away or 800 kilometers away who potentially are perfect for the project, but they do not want to relocate to Zagreb. So why would you add all this complexity if you can create an environment which allows them to work from anywhere? And there are companies like one of the guys who was involved as an apprentice 20 years ago. He created a company in 2014 called Hotjar. So hot, H-O-T, and jar like a jar. So this was from day one entirely set up remotely. But remotely means, Robert, that he still organizes events where team members meet in person. Yeah, he organizes specific events for making sure they build better relationships with each other. So, but this happens outside of conventional offices. So there's a quality of human connection which is essential, and you are 100% spot on with this. The only thing which today's technology allows you to do that at specific occasions and spend the money on bringing people together in great environments instead of blowing it on office buildings, which rarely serve better customer experiences.
So as far as I understood, you would abolish the offices as it totally.
Robert, the question is not I would. Offices are currently expiring in large numbers. If you look at the numbers from New York, if you look at the numbers from San Francisco, you can see it. It's happening big time in capital letters. The question is not would I, it is happening. So people are right now, the question is when do you adjust and how do you do it? Yeah, so if Ford Motor Company announces, which they did, if companies like Spotify are doing it with thousands of people, so they are reducing their office costs. So you will have many office buildings which will be repurposed in the next few years. And yes, people have a better quality of life, and you can pay people more as a fair share of their contribution. So the question is not would I, it is happening. The question is only when do people start seeing it? Like most people today make their phone calls on mobile. I was around creating some of those systems in the beginning when I passed on a business card which only had a mobile number. People got confused. Yeah, and so this is now de facto a standard where people just use it all the time. They don't even ask that question anymore. But 20 years, 30 years ago, it was an issue. 20 years ago, we called companies internet companies. We don't call companies internet companies anymore. 120 years ago, we called companies electricity companies because they had electricity. Yeah, so we don't call companies electricity companies anymore. Yeah, so this is a de facto standard which we will look, if we look back in 10 years, we will see, oh, we are still from a generation where people went to an office.
Okay, I can see your logic. So my next question to Sanja is also to all of you. How can we preserve those quality which were in non-remote work? So I'm rephrasing myself. How to preserve those values in remote work? Sanja?
Okay, I'm assuming, Robert, that you are thinking about social interactions and that spontaneous water cooler chit chat that happens in an office, right? Am I getting that right? Like, what in particular do you feel sad about disappearing?
Not sad. I'm just concerned that you have a situation where creativity comes from the. I can talk about journalism. I can talk about documentarism. I can talk about production. That's my field of working. And I believe that without social interaction, many ideas come from the social interaction. I agree with Andres. It doesn't have to be in office. It doesn't have to be in a newsroom, but you have to have some kind of, I don't know, some dock of where you're gathering somehow. So maybe it doesn't have to be in the old-fashioned way. That's the only thing I'm concerned. But how will we preserve those facts from the past?
Well, I think that creativity and innovation is for a lot of people hard to evolve in an office. A lot of people are having a hard time thinking out of the box, being in the box, as Andreas puts it. So giving that freedom of spaces, I think that adds on to your creativity, where you can be inspired by different places and interacting with different people. But it's a great question that you're asking. What are the alternative methods virtually? How can we make for that? I think that there are a lot of platforms now, collaborative platforms that are enabling those bursts of interactivity and of communication that can be, again, set in a day and fixed or spontaneous, where people can participate in informal chats and exchange water cooler jargon, let's put it that way, in order to connect and not be strictly fixed on a job at hand or a task at hand. But I think that there's a balance. It's a balance of juggling between your deadlines, your workload, and of your interactions. But it can all happen online. It's not the same chemistry, but it shouldn't be the same. It's simply redefined.
So we can go now to the topic, how can this globally changing the remote work? How will globally change our way of working and maybe being more productive? Luca, or Andreas?
So I mentioned 3 parts of life, like health, wealth, which is business, and the relationships, and it's changing it in all 3 ways. And I think the biggest thing that will change in everyone's lives is they will sooner or later have to realize that now that it brings more freedom. They can make decision whether they want to work from home, or they want to work from the park, or they want to move out of the big city and go into suburbs, pay lower rent, or build a house of their dreams for lower cost, build a garden, have a garden, or be next to the woods. So it gives you a lot of options, a lot of flexibility. A lot of people have left New York, for example. And I've read a statistic that that more people have left New York during this pandemic than all the people that came into New York since 1950. So 70 years. I mean, most of them will come back probably. But it's interesting how during this time period, a lot of them wanted to go to nature, to connect with nature, to build their relationships with their friends, to visit their relatives, spend more time with their family. Ask people who work remotely. They will tell you now, instead of traveling 3 hours a day, being stuck in a commute, they can have lunch with their kids or breakfast with their kids longer. Enjoy those moments. This means a lot. And it's also a lot of arguments are there. There are a lot of arguments about mental health and stress, but there is here again, managing your own reality, creating also your life should take place. It's something new, so you should take care of what works for you. Should you just close the computer after 6 o'clock or 4 p.m. or would you like to work at night? Yes, and mental health. Should you spend more time in nature or with your friends? It's just bringing a lot of changes.
I just want to say that Ksenia Gans-Novak said, I'm happy to be able to work remotely as well as in the office now and in the future as leadership development coach. And also we have spontaneity, creativity, and in interaction with people in person, in the office or in cafe, which I have to agree. So, but when we talk about, thank to all our viewers who are giving us their opinion, what work is possible when we talk about possible, impossible, and surprisingly possible to do remotely? And who are the most relevant global and local remote work influencers today? What do you think?
Andreas mentioned David Darmanin. He's the CEO of Hotjar. I had the pleasure of meeting David thanks to Andreas, and I've used his product Hotjar, which shows you basically where somebody clicked on the website, how they interacted with your website. And he's one of the great examples. He's one of people who have built something amazing completely remotely. And there are a number of companies that do it in a similar way. But what would be more relatable to people watching this is, I love your cup.
Yeah.
What would be more relatable is that it is practically impossible to find a skill that you already have that is not able to use remotely and live from it remotely, to create a business out of it. Mm-hmm. I have tried. I haven't found a skill that is not that is impossible to do remotely.
Okay.
What do you think, Sanya?
Okay, I could tell some non-remotely jobs, but never mind. I will not. We are talking about digital possible work. Like you cannot work on the bakery remotely. You cannot bake remotely. But I'm just joking. Sorry.
But because this is exactly the point, Robert. You can, because if you run a bakery like Korica, yeah, so the guys who are in Zagreb, whom I experienced while I was there, you can easily offer actually remote support that people can bake the same stuff everywhere in Zagreb where they are not in walking distance to a Korica bakery. So what you can do is through remote have the same. You have a camera in the actually facility of Korica where they bake, and you take videos and interview the guys who are making these amazing products and allow people to reproduce them who are not in walking distance. So meaning you can reach significantly more potential customers who are on a daily basis not able to reach a Korica shop and allow them to have some of the same experience. So that is not remotely selling the same bread which you bake in the bakery. That is correct, but it empowers the same people to reach
I agree, but
millions. So
okay.
this is where I'm coming from. If you want to take it to that level, then this is so powerful that you could build from a Korica experience with a few outlets in Zagreb, a brand which goes across the entire Balkan.
I agree with that. That is also addition possible. But I was I don't know, yesterday or the day before in one of the Consum shops where that was the first I think shop without any person. Everything is robotic. You have to do it yourself. And for me, maybe I'm old-fashioned again. This is too extreme. I need a human touch. That's my point.
You will get human touch, Robert, with 5G, and with that enhancement of in connectivity, in internet connectivity, we will literally be like, you know, we used to watch in Star Trek and Voyager and other science fiction shows, like a hologram of a person sitting next to you, drinking cafe with you on that Austrian Republic Square. So the extended reality that comes with 5G will, I think, add on to that personal touch that you're aspiring
Okay.
to.
Okay. Maybe that's one of the cases we have to talk about it, because I don't want that this is like, you know, I'm just against them. But I mean, there is. We talked about before that there are three different paths we can follow to start earning an international salary while staying wherever you're moving, wherever you are. So I'm very happy about that. How can we do that?
Yeah. So there are three things you can do.
If I disappear for a second, it's a connection here. It says something, but you continue. But let's talk about earning money.
So you can, first you need to think about the skills that you already have. So what you're working on already. So if you're maybe a physiotherapist, or you're florist, or you're working in a bakery, or you're a social media manager or architect, all of these skills can be used to earn money online. Or if you don't have a skill that you would like to do, if you would like to change completely, you can just learn something new pretty quickly. And there is the best way. There are best proven ways to do it in a matter of months to become better than 80% of the world who are doing this. But the free ways are, so pick one of those skills that you already are doing or would like to do to earn money. And first thing is you can get employed. There are a number of websites with remote jobs only. And you will be surprised how many companies offer great salary, are looking for remote employees, and they don't care wherever you live. You can be wherever you are. And the same job that you're doing now, there's a high possibility that in a matter of maybe weeks, months, you can work with some company from UK, Germany, or whatever, Seoul, and do this similar thing for them online and earn more. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, this money can enable you to do other things that you love in your life and focus more on what you want, expand on it or whatever. The second thing is using those skills to create, to find clients who have a problem that you can solve by offering a solution that you already are doing, or you will learn how to do it. And this is also not as hard as some people think. If you know good English, and most Croatians and people in the neighborhood in Balkan area speak very good English, are very fluent in English, and the digital skills are at the top of the European Union and Europe. So there's nothing stopping them to start doing it. It's probably just being stuck in the day-to-day life and not even thinking about, not even considering it. And it's maybe even easier to earn money like that than trying to find a job right now, because I read it today morning, there was an article that said 225,000 employees in Croatia are now in danger for their jobs. And it will be easier for them to start something new, start earning more money with international clients who are looking for them, and will pay them less still. Maybe they will pay them less than they would pay them in, for example, the US, and they will earn still double than they earn now. And they will be happier, they'll have more flexibility. So that's the second thing, finding clients. And the third thing is becoming a supplier for other companies. And you can do it directly with, for example, you are specialized in providing a standard service of creating websites. You don't have to find clients. You just find one big company that will send clients to you. And that can be done with huge companies that have a big, they have too much work. They need to give it to somebody else they can trust. Or you can just do it through Upwork, Fiverr, those websites that already have traffic. Those are like Amazon for services. Upwork is like Amazon for services. You can either post, you can create your profile, share what you can do for people, and they can either find it directly or they can post a job and then you can apply. And in this way, you are not building your brand as you are if you are finding your clients. You're building Upwork's brand, but you get more traffic. It's maybe for you, maybe it's easier to do it that way. So those are the first three ways.
Okay, you explained it nicely, Andreas. Sanja, you want to add something to it?
Yeah, I can. I came to your country, Robert, in 2017, based on a family trauma. So one of my daughters was abducted to your neighborhood, and so I have been asked ever since I arrived, what do you believe about the country? How can you see the country unfold? So, and my commitment ever since has been to leave a mark and to actually be part of a positive transformation. I have experienced those transformations in Germany. I've experienced them in Asia, in countries like Indonesia, like India. I've experienced this in Malta in the last 20 years, where we created or we initiated an entire remote business industry. What I can say that the potential of mobile work, this is how I would call it, is going to transform, or is this the number one issue having an impact on transforming the entire neighborhood in which you live, Robert, because it will stop, or it will give people an opportunity or an alternative instead of leaving. So what you experience in your neighborhood is a brain drain, where you are in the top in Europe when it comes to people leaving the country. What you can do through mobile work and remote work, you can actually for the first time offer them options to stay, as an example, in places like Osijek and pursue opportunities around the world. Yeah, so meaning people who have experienced that level of empowerment, they might still leave, but many of them will stay. So far you are allowing people to grow up in your country. You are teaching them, you're training them at school and university, and then many of them leave in pursuit of better opportunities. What we are doing right now, we are boosting the know-how for those people to have the option to stay. Yeah, and this is going to be the number one game changer for the entire neighborhood.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah, something changed a little bit with our mobile. I had to switch it anyway. So, but if we are saying that we will change that throughout our possible, how do you say, change? How long it will be that we will see effectively what is our change?
I met Luca in 2018, and you can see what he's doing now. So, and he's one example. And right now, the situation is there will be the next 800 I would call them just for name purpose, Lana and Lucas. Yeah, so who actually can see that there is an opportunity to pursue that. And luckily, through the innovation pandemic of last year, Robert, people got used to use video. They got used to work from home. So this is so powerful in the transformation of the neighborhood that you have seen it last year. It will be more. And what we are doing right now, this is why we are doing it, is actually leading to a higher awareness and then train people to use it. Don't forget, the Croatian Chamber of Commerce, which has been around for, what, 165 years? So they were leading by spring 2020. They identified the importance of remote work, and they asked us at the time to organize a workshop around the subject. So that finally happened then in July. But they were already on the subject a year ago. So it's happening.
Okay, Sanja, what do you think?
Well, I can feel it in the last 2 years that I was back home in Croatia. I can feel that change, and it's going as I said, with the new paradigms of work being changed, accelerated. When I share my husband's experience working remotely, that was working for us when we were pleased working for us when we are here. He was learning new skills already. My kids, what they did when there was a first lockdown in Croatia, they were just in the middle of learning new instruments. So my younger son was learning drums and my older son was learning the guitar. And as a result of being coached remotely by their teachers, by their drum and by their guitar teacher, they came up with a performance. And in May in 2020, when there was nothing going on, they were able to produce a first street performance concert on their own and earn their own money, being aged 9 and 10. That sounds impossible, but it's really not. They were just open-minded and they pursued gaining skills, and that was it.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that it seems that it looks like I'm a very old-fashioned guy against it, but whatever you are saying here in this lit conversation, it seems very logical, and I hope that we help to some people who are here. Even Luca told about these 3 paths, which we can do, how we can do them, and it seems logical, and I think that the opportunity which is ahead of us will be used by even our viewers or somebody who knows more about remote work than I do. But at the end, from my side, because it seems that I'm the only one who is like grungy sounding, I can say that 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able as a host, television host person, to host in this way this show, like literally we had this conversation. So I must admit that the technology is making easier for us, and making, even as Luca or Andreas probably and Sanja said, you can make your environment more beautiful. So I'm here with my coffee with beautiful, how do you say that?
Smiling.
Smile, yeah, it's a smile, yeah. So I can end with this beautiful smile. And this is, for me, a positive way to end this conversation. Hope that next month we will have another one, beautiful and also content-wise good as this one was. Are you satisfied, guys?
Yes, I have one question. I would love if we have people in the audience who come up with something where remote work could not either be done or improve the work which is happening. So tell us where you see there's a space where the remote perspective would not add value because it could improve it, or it could actually replace the physical interaction.
Okay, Luca, Sanja, final words from you.
Yes, I would say it's been over a year since a lot of us have been, since the pandemic started. And I would just encourage people to consider finding an international job or international clients, because they have everything they need. And I know that a lot of us start learning English at very early age, and we don't know why we learn it. We just speak it very well, and we never use it until we understand why we learned it. And we only use it when we travel. And I know that sometimes there is a feeling of embarrassment when you speak English in Croatia. Sometimes, people don't feel good about speaking English. I would just encourage everyone to use what they already know, because it is wanted. They're just not there. Sometimes they just need to show up.
Okay, and last but not least, Sanya.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, from my perspective, working as an educator remotely, I think that collaborative platforms that are such as simple as Trello or Slack or Padlet that anyone who has a Google account can open. I think that they make the collaborative activities accessible to everyone, and they provide a searchable record of everything that was going on in the back scenes and up front. And it's making things easier in a way that we do not have to sit in a three-hour-long meeting in order to know who decided what was decided. We don't need to interrupt each other to figure out what we're talking about. We can all look it up front in those searchable records, and we can come to those meetings that happen in a live synchronous environment as we're having now. We can come to those meetings prepared and know what we're talking about. And so I think that remote work simply flips that meeting culture. It fosters the flipped meeting culture, where we do not meet just to chit chat and to digress in hours-long meetings, but we come to do the work and to have good, productive, effective conversations. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that for now we gave a different perspective of remote work in this session. Thank you for joining me on R+, and I hope that our viewers got some information which are useful. Don't be discouraged by me being grunge. I actually love the idea of remote work. I love the fact that I can be here and enjoy myself. I'm just concerned about some part of works which I believe we preserve, but I see that Luca, Andreas, and Sanya are also pushing me and supporting in this topic and concern to preserve whatever we have to preserve from that normal. And I believe that we can also in next month, I hope that we will have more impact, and that this also video can be shareable. Write to us, write below comments and also suggestions. We can also include them in the next split. Guys, thank you. I hope it will be a beautiful day for you, wherever you are now.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.